If I do, then you are through, boy. My baby, that's the...
She was once a Hollywood starlet, a symbol of glamour and success. But by the end of her life, she was virtually forgotten, dying penniless. Who was Dorothy Dandridge, and how did her story go from Hollywood fame to financial ruin? Dorothy Dandridge, a name that echoes through the halls of Hollywood's golden age. She was a woman ahead of her time, breaking barriers and defying expectations in an industry where opportunities for Black actresses were nearly non-existent. In 1954, Dorothy stunned the world with her performance in Carmen Jones, earning an Academy Award nomination for Best Actress, the first ever nomination for a Black woman. It was a moment of triumph, not just for Dorothy, but for an entire race of women who had been overlooked for too long. Hollywood had high hopes for Dorothy. She was beautiful, talented, and poised to become one of the greatest stars of her generation. She was on top of the world, gracing magazine covers, headlining films, and living the glamorous life many could only dream of. For a brief moment, Dorothy seemed unstoppable. The cameras flashed, the crowds cheered, and the world was watching. But behind all that glitz and glamour, there was a story waiting to unfold, one of struggle, betrayal, and heartbreak. Though Dorothy Dandridge had everything the world thought she wanted, the pressures of fame, race, and Hollywood's systemic racism began to chip away at the very foundation of her career. But how did a woman who had it all end up a forgotten star, dying alone and penniless? Dorothy Jean Dandridge was born on November 9, 1922, in Cleveland, Ohio. Her childhood was far from ordinary. Raised in a world of hardship and uncertainty, Dorothy's mother, Ruby, pushed her into the entertainment world, hoping to provide a better life for her family. Ruby was a talented singer and a woman who understood the power of show business. She saw potential in her daughter from a young age and took Dorothy to audition for roles, enrolling her in dance and music lessons. But it wasn't an easy road. From a young age, Dorothy was forced to navigate the turbulent world of racism and segregation. Hollywood wasn't prepared for a Black woman to take center stage, and yet Dorothy showed she had the talent to shine. She was a fighter, ready to prove that talent could overcome anything. In 1954, after years of struggling for roles, Dorothy was cast in the film Carmen Jones, a musical based on Georges Bizet's opera Carmen, set in the backdrop of World War II. It was a turning point. Dorothy was given the lead role of Carmen, and Hollywood took notice. Her performance was nothing short of mesmerizing. Dorothy brought a rare depth to the role of Carmen, blending sensuality, strength, and vulnerability. It was a breakthrough moment, not just for her, but for Black actresses everywhere. For her performance, Dorothy Dandridge became the first Black woman in history to be nominated for a Best Actress Academy Award. The world was finally paying attention to her. Hollywood seemed to embrace Dorothy wholeheartedly. She was a trailblazer, a symbol of what could be achieved, even when the odds were stacked against you. She graced magazine covers, attended lavish premieres, and was hailed as one of the most beautiful women in Hollywood. For a brief moment, Dorothy was at the top of the world. But the higher Dorothy climbed, the more difficult the climb became. Behind the glossy magazine covers and the glamorous premieres, a storm was brewing. Hollywood was not ready for a Black woman to be a true leading lady. Despite her immense talent, Dorothy would soon realize that the industry she conquered was about to turn its back on her. For all the success Dorothy Dandridge experienced, it wasn't long before the glitter of Hollywood began to fade. Beneath the surface of all the fame and fortune lay a bitter truth. Hollywood was not kind to Black women, no matter how talented or beautiful they were. Despite her Oscar nomination, Dorothy quickly realized that the doors to leading roles were tightly closed to Black actresses. In a time when racial segregation still defined much of America, Hollywood's color barrier remained in full force. Though Dorothy had proven herself capable of carrying a film, the roles that came her way were often limited. She was often cast in secondary roles, playing maids, lovers, or exotic women, characters that perpetuated the racial stereotypes of the time. She was being typecast, no matter how wide her talent spread. The toll of Hollywood's racism wasn't just professional, it was personal. Dorothy, who had once been so full of hope, now struggled with the weight of a system that refused to see her as more than a one-dimensional character. The very industry that had once crowned her a star now boxed her into a life she didn't want. As the years went by, Dorothy's frustration mounted. She knew she had more to offer the world. She could sing, dance, and act, but the industry would only allow her to perform within its restrictive boundaries. Her dreams were growing smaller, and the bitterness of Hollywood's limitations began to consume her. Dorothy's personal life was no easier than her professional one. She was married twice, but both relationships were plagued by emotional abuse and exploitation. Her second marriage to director Otto Preminger, a man who had once supported her career, would turn toxic. Preminger not only used his influence to control Dorothy's career, but also manipulated her emotionally. His possessiveness and emotional coldness wore her down, leaving Dorothy feeling isolated in a world of judgment and control. In the midst of all this, Dorothy was also a mother, trying to raise her daughter while balancing the demands of her career. But the strain of her relationships, the loneliness, and the constant battles with Hollywood took their toll. As Dorothy's career began to stall, so too did her mental and emotional well-being. The pressure of trying to break free from the roles that limited her, compounded by her troubled personal life, led Dorothy into a deep emotional spiral. Her isolation grew. She began to battle depression, plagued by feelings of inadequacy and rejection. Despite the public adoration, Dorothy's personal world was filled with shadows. The very industry that had once promised her the world was now its greatest source of pain. As the years wore on, Dorothy's career faded. The roles grew fewer, the offers less enticing. But Dorothy's fight wasn't over yet. She had one more battle to face, one that would alter her life forever. As Dorothy's career in Hollywood began to falter, her personal life too spiraled into chaos. Her second marriage to the controlling Otto Preminger had ended in divorce, leaving her emotionally drained and vulnerable. When they first met, Otto Preminger was one of the most powerful men in Hollywood. But what started as a professional relationship quickly turned personal. Preminger, a man with immense influence, was also deeply possessive and controlling. Though Dorothy was a devoted mother, raising her daughter on her own while fighting her inner demons, she was constantly torn between the demands of Hollywood and the reality of a marriage that was suffocating her spirit. After their divorce, Dorothy's emotional state became more fragile, and she found herself seeking solace in toxic relationships. The painful realization that she could never fully escape the toxicity of Hollywood or her personal life lingered over her. Despite her star status, Dorothy Dandridge's financial situation was spiraling out of control. The lavish Hollywood lifestyle that once surrounded her had now become a distant memory. The roles she once coveted were no longer coming her way, and her dwindling income left her vulnerable. Even with her Oscar nomination and groundbreaking performances, Dorothy wasn't immune to the financial realities of being a Black actress in a racially biased Hollywood system. Her earnings were not what they should have been. Poor investments and a lack of financial literacy only worsened her situation. The financial strain worsened as Dorothy's film career hit a standstill. At the same time, her personal expenses continued to pile up, and her lavish lifestyle, once a symbol of success, became a painful reminder of the dreams that never fully came true. Her dreams of financial freedom were shattered, and despite her ongoing struggle to secure work, Dorothy found herself slipping further into debt. The Hollywood dream was turning into a nightmare, and the world that once adored her now seemed distant, unreachable. As the pressure mounted, Dorothy's emotional and mental health began to deteriorate. The weight of her broken career, failed marriages, and mounting debt took its toll. She struggled with feelings of inadequacy, loneliness, and despair. She had once been a star, a woman who captivated the world with her beauty and talent. But the Hollywood system had chewed her up and spit her out, and now Dorothy was left to pick up the broken pieces of her life. Dorothy's inner battles began to surface. The constant pressure of living up to expectations, combined with the deep emotional pain of her struggles, led her into a downward spiral. She faced depression, anxiety, and a profound sense of isolation that haunted her every day. In 1965, Dorothy Dandridge's life would take its final tragic turn. She was found dead in her apartment from a drug overdose, at the age of just 42. A life filled with promise had come to an early and painful end. The world had lost a star, but Dorothy's death was not just a tragedy of lost potential. It was the culmination of a lifetime of battles, both external and internal. She had fought so hard for her place in a system that never truly embraced her. Though Dorothy Dandridge's life ended in tragedy, her legacy lives on. In the decades since her death, Dorothy's story has been revisited, her talent rediscovered, and her pioneering spirit acknowledged by a new generation. Her life, though tragically short, changed Hollywood forever. Dorothy Dandridge may have died penniless and alone, but she was and will always be a true legend. Though Dorothy Dandridge's life ended in heartbreaking tragedy, her story did not fade into the shadows. In the years following her death, Dorothy's legacy has been reassessed, and her place in Hollywood history has been firmly established. Today, Dorothy is remembered as one of the pioneers who shattered the color barriers in Hollywood. She was a true trailblazer, the first Black woman to be nominated for an Academy Award for Best Actress, an achievement that resonates even more profoundly today. In the decades since her death, Dorothy's story has been rediscovered and celebrated. The 1999 biographical film introducing Dorothy Dandridge, starring Halle Berry, brought her life and legacy back to the forefront, reintroducing her as an icon whose brilliance had been overlooked for far too long. Dorothy's influence is undeniable. Her story has inspired countless Black actresses to dream bigger, to aim higher, and to break down the very walls that once confined her. Today's stars like Halle Berry, Angela Bassett, and Viola Davis stand on the shoulders of Dorothy Dandridge. They have followed the path she paved, one that was fraught with obstacles but also full of hope and perseverance. Dorothy's impact reaches beyond just her groundbreaking roles. It's in the legacy of Black actresses who now enjoy more opportunities to lead films, play diverse characters, and be recognized for their talent, not defined by stereotypes. For years, Dorothy's name was lost in the annals of Hollywood history, overshadowed by her tragic end. But as the years have passed, she has been rediscovered, and her star has shone brighter than ever. Film retrospectives, documentaries, and restored screenings of her films have introduced Dorothy to a whole new generation of moviegoers. Film scholars and critics now recognize Dorothy as one of the most underappreciated actresses of her time. They examine her work through a new lens, understanding how much she contributed to the portrayal of Black women on screen, how she broke boundaries and left an indelible mark on Hollywood, despite the industry's refusal to truly embrace her. Dorothy Dandridge was a woman who deserved so much more than she was given. She deserved to be celebrated as one of the greatest actresses of her time, not reduced to a tragic footnote in Hollywood's history. She deserved the financial success that was so often denied to her. She deserved a career that reflected her true potential, a career free of the limits imposed by racism and systemic inequality. Yet in many ways, Dorothy has received the recognition she always deserved. The respect she now commands is a testament to her talent, her perseverance, and the undeniable influence she had on the film industry. But it is also a reminder of the injustice that left her to fade into obscurity for so many years. Dorothy Dandridge's story is one of triumph, heartache, and undeniable brilliance. Though she was often overlooked and underappreciated during her time, her legacy has outlasted the very systems that tried to silence her. Dorothy Dandridge will forever be remembered as a woman who defied the odds, a star who deserved more. Dorothy Dandridge's life was a reminder of the price of fame. While Hollywood celebrated her beauty, talent, and groundbreaking performances, it ultimately failed to offer her the support, respect, and opportunities she deserved. For Dorothy, fame came with an undeniable cost, emotionally, mentally, and financially. She sacrificed so much to fit into a mold that was never designed for someone like her. A mold that confined her to roles that didn't truly reflect her talents. A mold that stripped away her agency in a world that didn't want to embrace her for who she truly was. In the end, Dorothy Dandridge's story is not just one of personal tragedy, it's a reflection of the systemic racism that plagued Hollywood and continues to affect those trying to break in. Dorothy was a star, yes, but she was a star trapped in a system that refused to recognize her for her full potential. Hollywood's doors were open, but only a crack. Dorothy fought to step through it, but she was constantly held back by an industry that saw her as an exception rather than the rule. And as she struggled against this wall, the personal toll was devastating. Dorothy Dandridge's story, while tragic, is also a powerful lesson. A lesson about the cost of fame, the dangers of systemic injustice, and the importance of recognizing talent beyond the limitations of race. It is a reminder that no one, no matter how gifted, should be defined by the boundaries of an industry that refuses to see them as they truly are. Her life is also a testament to the resilience of the human spirit. Despite all the obstacles, Dorothy's legacy endures. Her work, her influence, and her courage continue to inspire new generations. Dorothy Dandridge may have paid the ultimate price for her fame, but her story will never be forgotten. If Dorothy's story touched you, if her struggles and triumphs have left a mark, remember her. Remember her fight, her brilliance, and her unwavering strength. And let us continue to honor the stars who, like Dorothy, have paved the way, who faced unimaginable odds but still shone brightly, even if only for a moment. Thank you for watching. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into the untold stories of Hollywood's most unforgettable stars. And don't forget to comment below, what impact has Dorothy Dandridge's legacy had on you?